$1,053. Then a couple other categories that we have here. Mileage. I did not receive mileage during this pay period. I receive my mileage reimbursement from work once a month. And you will see that during our first July paycheck budget. So for savings used, I have two different categories of savings used. Only one of them is applicable here. So I pull cash in from cash envelopes, and that is savings used. So we use $24 in cash from the close envelope and $12 from the miscellaneous cash envelope to cover like a garage related expense. So that was $36 in savings used from cash envelopes that came back into our budget during this pay period. We did some rollover here, which we don't typically do, but we rolled over $8.79 from our previous paycheck budget. Usually I put it towards when we get to the bottom and we have rollover left, it goes to whatever our current financial goal was. There must have been some expenses that needed covered, and $8.79 wasn't enough, so I just figured I would roll it over and then I would take it out of our the next paycheck budget. Then we had interest, so I had 6 cents from our checking account interest, which is, nothing. And then $79.18 from our high yield savings account June interest, which leaves us with the interest category of $79.24 that came into our budget. And then the only other thing that we have is roundups. So roundups get a little bit confusing. So there were a lot more roundups when I did our a lot more of our categories in cash, like the regular things that we pull out of each paycheck. So groceries, dining out, drinks, kids, all of that stuff. Now, really the only thing that roundups pertains to is my spending. So I pull my spending cash out, which is $70. And then only because I typically spend the money on the card, it needs paid back. I don't call that savings used, which is what I do with all the other cash from our cash envelopes. Because it is not money I have saved up in an envelope over time, it is money specifically from this paycheck budget. I just pulled it out in cash for accountability purposes. So for instance, if you watch my check-ins or my weekly spending tracking, it might make a little more sense. It might make it more confusing. So for instance, when I did my check-in on July 2nd, I had two purchases that were qualified as my spending. I put $27 because I rounded up on those two things. I put $27 worth of cash back into my budget, but the actual two expenses that I had totaled $26.13. So that makes an 87-cent roundup just in here when I'm doing my math. So that's 87 cents. And then the next one, actually 87 cents. The next one, the expense, the thing that I bought was $32.09, and I put in $32 flat. So because that's a lot smaller amount, there's only 9 cents, I didn't round up to the next dollar. So actually that is minus 9 cents because it was a round up, but it's in the negative, right? So in total of roundups, when I do the math on my spreadsheet versus when I actually go in and I track, I do these like a checking account register where I start from zero and I add our income and I subtract all of our expenses. And so to have the difference on that equal to this, we have to figure our roundups, which are at 78 cents. So this maybe doesn't mean a whole lot to you or whatever, but it just helps on the math on my end to make sure I truly am counting every penny, because that's very important to me. Some people, they round expenses up and income down and they don't count change. And I've tried that because I think it would be a lot easier. And my brain can't. We can't just get rid of that change. It's there. It matters. Okay, so let's add up our income or inflow here. Okay, so that is a total of $3,069.09 that we have here as income or inflow. Now, if we come down to our expenses and go through where our money was actually spent, This is a tracker I sort of created for myself. I'm working on perfecting it because 1 page is not enough and 2 pages is too many, and so it's a whole thing. But in any case, the first thing that we look at here is our annual and semi-annual expenses. So I was always counting these as savings or sinking funds, at least on these pages, and that feels disingenuous to me because it looks like I'm saving all this money, but the reality is, I mean, it's going into the savings account, but it is for fixed expenses that have to be paid. They're just paid yearly or every 6 months, and so it really feels more like a fixed expense to me, but technically it's not being paid out. It is going into a savings account. So I changed the category to annual and semi-annual expenses, and I categorize it a little bit differently to make me feel like I'm not looking like I'm saving half of my income when in fact a lot of it is going to things like this. So for our homeowners and vehicle insurance, we pay those premiums every 6 months. I put it into one category, and I put some money toward it each time we get paid. For the second paycheck of the month, $100 goes into that sinking fund, and I did do that. Registration is for our vehicles. I think it's called something different everywhere, but it's like the registration for our cars and vehicles that we have to have on the road. So mine was paid in May because that is my birthday month, and that is when my vehicle is registered. The rest of ours come due in September. So our truck, which is like my husband's / farm, whatever, my husband's daily driver van, and then I think we have like 3 or 4 trailers that you have to have like registered like that. So they're all registered under him and come due in September. And I just kind of have this revolving amount. I just switched a vehicle, which went, I had, if it's over 10 years old, then your vehicle's like $50 to register every year. And I got rid of my Suburban and bought my mom's, an Explorer for my mom. And so mine went up, and I funded that with no problem in May. And now, we're just adding to it every month to make sure we have stuff in September to cover all of his, and then still have what we need come next May. So I'm working, that's kind of an ever-changing thing. It was consistent for a while, and then he bought a different vehicle, and then I bought a different vehicle, and so just getting that worked out. But anyway, we did put $45 into that sinking fund. And then this is property taxes. So as you'll note, whatever, if you're new here, we do not have a mortgage. We paid off both things that we considered mortgages, and we do not have that. So our homeowner's insurance comes out of pocket, or, as do our property taxes. So we typically fund that with the third paycheck in a magic month, is what I have done for a long time to avoid pulling so much of it out regularly out of our budget. In 2024, we bought some farmland. We bought 40 acres of farmland. And I keep the farm stuff and this is only our personal stuff. I keep it entirely separate because we don't take money from the farm and we don't really give money to the farm. The farm just has to sustain itself. We started farming 6 years ago when my dad died. We rent the ground that my parents have farmed my entire life. We rent it from my mom. Anyway, that's totally separate. But what I wanted to do was be able to cover the property taxes on it without that coming out of the farm account. Because anything that the farm doesn't have to cover, like farming is expensive. So the property taxes are something like it all comes to me and looks like a personal bill. I can just cover it. So it was a little bit more. So I had some money in May when I moved around money after paying our insurance premiums. That went into the property taxes sinking fund. With a third paycheck in May, I put $1,500 in. What this is the amount that was left to get us to $2,000. I don't know what our property taxes are going to be due in September because we pay them September and March, and I knew what Marches were going to be. And then now, July 1st is a new fiscal year in our county, so they're redoing their budget. So I don't actually know what my tax due is for September yet, but I did round up a few $100, and I have this $52.69 that I put in there got me to the $2,000 that I wanted to have in that sinking fund, in hopes that it didn't go up more than that, I guess, basically. All right, so let's see where we're at for $197.69, which was what we budgeted. Again, I treat these like fixed expenses, so even though it's technically savings, it's going to a savings account, I am treating it like a fixed expense. It is not optional. It's not something that I need to cut if we are looking to cut things. So $197.69, if I take that away from the $3,069.09, that leaves me with $2,871.40 left to budget. So now we move up to our regular, fixed monthly expenses, I guess. and I'm going to put that amount there. This is modeled after the, paycheck, budget by paycheck by from the Budget Mom, as far as pulling the leftover up. So this is what I still have was as I'm moving into this category. For internet, our fixed expenses, okay, so what we did here is, so half of this is, I set half of the internet bill aside at the beginning or in the first paycheck, and then I cover the remainder with the second paycheck. My internet bill continues to go up. So this was the second half of that bill. But because I'm frustrated and finally got my life together, actually my husband got whatever. Anyway, so that's the, to cover our current, our internet provider, the second half of that bill that, comes out at the end of June. And then I added $20 because I ordered set up Starlink kit to try Starlink insurance. So the actual Starlink internet, not insurance, sorry. The actual amount for internet that was covered or was paid or whatever was $73.13. Donation, $100 went to a donation during this pay period. REC is our electric bill, and that's paid with our first paycheck. Our cell phone bill is paid with this paycheck, and we paid $182.67. So we've had US Cellular for years because that works best where we are, like better than Verizon, for instance. I do live in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. T-Mobile bought US Cellular, and so they've been in the process of switching everybody over. We finally, I don't know, my brother and my mom are on the same phone plan, and they got switched over probably like a month ago, and we talked about that a little bit. Well, that's really annoying. I just realized I don't think my mic was on before. Apologies if the hearing, the volume or the whatever has been terrible until now. My apologies. Okay, so this was the first bill that came through T-Mobile. So I don't know if it's actually going to be cheaper. There's a whole long thing about our cell phone bills. I would love to switch to Mint Mobile. It doesn't have great service out here where we are, but as I understand it, operates off of T-Mobile. I did take 100 from this paycheck to put towards it because it just wasn't feeling like that was enough. And then 29 cents is the service fee for that. Amazon subscriptions was super high this month, $243.52. I know we got like a water filter for our fridge. Some of the other bigger expenses, I guess, all came due. So Amazon subscriptions are household related things like garbage bags, toothpaste, paper towels, Kleenexes, toilet paper, deodorant, dishwashing detergent, laundry detergent. I guess I've added some things. Like my laundry detergent wasn't always on subscription through Amazon. I put it on one so I'm not like running out at 8 o'clock at night to a damn Dollar General to get my laundry detergent when I haven't, you know, taken care of it sooner. So those types of things are all on Amazon subscription, and this just happens to be a month where a lot of them come to, you know, because some are every 3 months, every 6 months, every 4 months, whatever it is. So that this month was high. We have nothing in the fun category. In medical, we did have $30.24 as budgeted. I believe that was a 90-day subscription or a 90-day prescription for 2 of my medications. So that's a cost that I have every 3 months, and that's for 2 of my meds. And then I do have some in here that I didn't put enough categories, so I need to kind of get back and I need to get in here and make sure I'm doing all of these. So we have home, which is different than household because household is I kind of got this from Steph's on a Budget, even though she does her not Steph's on a Budget, sorry, Budget for 5 with Stephanie. She does, all of her consumable stuff goes on her groceries. Mine is household. So that's things like a lot of what comes through Amazon subscriptions, but that's like deodorant and body spray and, what is this one even for? Oh, sunscreen, over-the-counter meds, like that kind of stuff, all comes from household. Any toiletry type things, where home is more permanent things. So $37.99, what was that? Oh, laundry baskets and like baskets to use as toys for toy holders or something else if my kids don't use them as toys. So a bunch of laundry baskets and different baskets from the dollar store. From Dollar General, $37.99 was what that was. And then kids, I think like we should like hold the phones, like do something big here. I spent no money that we categorized as kids in this paycheck. No variable spending. What? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know how that happens because that's been way over budget. And I'm like, ooh, I'm still not changing it. I'm still not changing it. Like I want it to be, Kids was 0. I'm really frustrated because I don't have enough lines here to do everything that I want to do because I need clothes and garage. What other one was 0? Fun was 0, so we can do that. Clothes and garage and plan and budget. And then there's also miscellaneous. Okay, we'll just put miscellaneous here. I don't usually do a miscellaneous. You'll see why this is miscellaneous in a minute. Okay, so I will fix that by the next time we, plan and budget. So that was something that like I spent, I think it was like a $19 expense. Actually, it might have been earbuds. It was a $19 expense and I put the rest of my spending money toward it and the rest went to plan and budget because that's the category I would have put it under. It wasn't earbuds. I don't remember. And the rest, so, I took the rest of the budget, the spending cash that I had and put it toward that expense, and $11.34 was what was left that I allocated to plan and budget on here to make it make sense to me. It doesn't have to make sense to you. Clothes. We hadn't planned to spend anything specifically on clothes. I got a shirt for $23.18 and my husband, he wears like slides, like Adidas slides. And they had a Prime Day sale of them for like $18.09. It was a really great price for the slides. Okay, so the total in clothes then was $41.27. Garage, he got it. This actually probably could have come from the farm, but this is another thing that I was like, it makes sense for me to cover it here instead of taking it from the farm account. $12.83, some kind of a an oil pump, fluid pump for some kind of oil, which could very well be used for our personal use. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what it was for, but it was one of those things that came through and it wasn't clear if it was farm or technically our personal use. And so in those times, I'm like, especially when it was $12, I just took it from our from our personal budget. And categorize it as garage, which is also acreage. Okay, and then the last thing is miscellaneous. So when I was going through our credit card, I don't know, because I track every credit card purchase that we make and how we track it and when I have it covered and paid and stuff, but there's still a discrepancy. So in miscellaneous here, I put $46.60 on the credit card because it seems as though I haven't put as much on there as what I've spent, and I don't know where that error is, so that's coming from miscellaneous. All right, so let us add up our variable expenses then. We have $308.97, $50, $34.16, $115.87, $70, $46, $60, $18, $26.71, which is $1,217.79. If I subtract that from the $2,377 that we had when we started this category, that leaves me with $1,082.98 to budget, and I'm putting that as the actual up here. We put $200 into our emergency fund with this paycheck. $100 went into our propane sinking fund, which is future winter heating costs. $50 into the kids' savings account for larger kids' expenses, $300 into the savings account for next summer's daycare. This summer's already funded, and nothing in medical, nothing in vacation. $104 went into our mini binder, which goes to our, variable cash envelopes. Holiday binder got 10, and our Christmas binder got 41, so those were all in cash. Tattoo and gas is 0. Oh, this is where the miscellaneous was. Whatever. Okay. And then in our vehicle sinking fund, 150 was what we budgeted. I put that 150 there, and I also put our high yield savings interest in that, since that's focus right now is to beef that up a little bit. So $229.18 went into the vehicles sinking fund. So which leaves our savings category at $1,034.18. If I subtract that from $1,082.98, that leaves me with $48.80. I'm going to bring that down to current goal, which this actually isn't really our current goal, but this is what I rolled over because I had other things I didn't just send it out to the savings account because there were other things I wanted to do with that. So I decided to roll it over into the next budget. So you will see that as a rollover amount coming into the next budget. So $48.80 was the rollover amount. $48.80 minus $48.80 is $0. So that is what our zero-based budget looks like and how we do the math on all of that. So that is what I have for this paycheck budget. So this wraps up this budget closeout for today. My reminder to myself and to you is that progress isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up for your pages, your finances, and anything else in your life. If you found this at all helpful or enjoyed the content, please hit that subscribe button to join our community. Leave a comment with your favorite summertime activity, because I love to hear that kind of stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. Happy budgeting. Bye.